أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي آمين إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم أما بعد السلام عليكم dear audience and fellow students of Sharia and democracy. Alhamdulillah, my fellow Muslims and my fellow Filipino people, we are now in episode 2 in our lecture series program on Sharia and democracy in the Philippines Muslim community. In the episode 1, we discussed about the background and objectives of the program. Inshallah, this time we'll have episode 2 of the program, which is about answering the questions what Sharia is and what Sharia is not. As we continue with the lecture series, let us be reminded and guided always by the objectives of the program, which are number 1, to understand the relations between the Sharia and democracy in the context of Philippine society, focusing on the Muslim community. And number 2, to appreciate the significant contribution of Sharia on the formation and the development of legal system and practices in Philippines Muslim society. My dear audience and fellow students of Sharia and democracy, this episode is an attempt of providing answer to the questions what Sharia is and what it is not. The very intention should be to make it clear to us that those negative notions they say about Sharia are all false and never be true anyways. Sharia and Islamic law, as always mentioned by many, is associated with Islam, associated with some political movements, whether it be rightist or leftist movements, etc. Hence, the notion of Sharia seems to be the most not understood concept associated with Islam, both for the non-Muslims and for some Muslims in the modern time. So let us address what Sharia is not. First of all, let me begin by saying that Sharia is not a man-made law, but it is God's making. God created man and God knows very well what is the nature of man, which is his creation. Man by nature likes everything that is beautiful. Man is happier if he experiences justice in his surrounding, and most importantly, man by nature loves to enjoy serenity in his existence. So there are 3 goals of humanity, such as al-jamal, what is beautiful, al-adl, what is just, and al-sakina, to be happy in this life, and inshallah in the life hereafter. To achieve these ambitions of the human being, God gave us the Sharia. Sharia is a body of regulative precepts in the knowledge of God, which provide guides to the humanity to be able to act and live righteously. Critics of Sharia say that Sharia is providing harsh penalty, such as amputation of the hands of the thieves, stoning to death of adulterer, killing the murderer, killing an apostate, etc. These are against human rights and indicating barbaric rules according to them. Well, that's not surprising, since whenever the topic about Sharia comes up in the media, it is invariably discussed as something barbaric, alien, and threat to human race. As a body of laws, Sharia is never a barbaric legal system, but rather it is perfect, effective, and efficient source of human positive law. Let me give one illustration to address this question. You will agree with me that if your brother is murdered by a bandit, may Allah forbids it. And if the murderer is arrested by the police authorities, and you will be asked, what would you recommend to punish this murderer? I'm sure you will like that murderer to be killed also as the most appropriate and equitable positive law to compensate your grieving family circle for such wrong done to your brother. Sharia, in that sense, is indeed a human positive law because it provides retribution to penalize criminals in a murder case. Sharia is not an ancient law, which they say it cannot be applied in these modern times. This kind of notion, again, is erroneous because Sharia provides a dynamic legal system to adapt to variety of human society and developments decades after decades. The traditional source of Sharia, which are the Quran and the Sunnah, are indeed fixed and unchangeable, but through the principle of fiqh, methodology of understanding the text of the Quran and the Sunnah, the Islamic legal system has been effectively and efficiently operating even in the present time and so as in the coming future periods. They say that Sharia is a misogynistic law. That is not true because Sharia is not a misogynistic law, but rather it promotes women's status and their significant roles in the development of Muslim society. The hijab, for instance, which is the woman's modest dress, is promoting security and protection of women's modesty, and it draws higher respect to their persons from the male sectors. They are taught by the Sharia in a state that no other traditions ever thought of providing them. The women are as equally significant individuals in the community as their brothers or male counterparts. According to Sharia, they even owe from the brothers support and protection to maintain them. They are not obligated by the Sharia to spend their share from the wealth of the family or inheritance for their education and needs, meaning they are free to decide how to spend such share according to their desire. When she is to marry, she has right to her dowry or mahar from her husband. They can inherit, they can own property, do businesses and trades, and seek education and so on in the same manner that their brothers or male counterparts can. Therefore, the women are indeed treated as equally important citizens as their male counterparts under the Sharia. Critics of Sharia also say that Sharia is a religious law which has no efficacy in the civil life of the society. Again, this is not true because Sharia is a complete system that encompasses both religious, spiritual, and including several activities of the humanity like business, social, economic, political, and even the minute life experience of individual person in his very own home. Now let us go to answering what Sharia is, or what is Sharia. For the information of everybody, Sharia is an Arabic word which is literally translated in English as the way, the path. So when we say Sharia, it means we are saying the path. Okay? It is a path or a means to something very important. Early Arabic usages suggested that it means the way to the watering place. It is a way that is considered the righteous way of living. Jurists of Islam define that Sharia is a body of regulative precepts in the knowledge of God. This implies that in the knowledge of God, there are precepts, regulations, and rulings in every aspect of human life conflated within the modern concept of Islamic law. Sharia reflects the entire body of Muslim teachings, its theology, its ethics, and its regulative framework, according to Ali Riza Bojani. Hence, Sharia is a system that guides a person on how to righteously live his life in this world. In the diagram about Islamic legal system, it explains that Sharia is represented in form of precepts that guide what is the right way to live as known within the mind of God. And these precepts are basically the contents of the Quran and the Sunnah, the fixed aspects of Islamic legal system. These precepts require human understanding and exposition, which are the jobs of the jurists or highly respected, uh, recognized, legal-minded individuals to be able to translate them into a form of legal rules, which we call the Hukm Shari'i, that are to be applied in resolving issues visiting the humanity. Such juristic expositions are now becoming the basis of formulation of jurisprudence or legal interpretation and application of the Sharia texts. This relationship has always given impetus of recognizing the idea that Islamic jurisprudence is actually the part of the Islamic legal system that implicates flexibility and dynamism of Islamic law at all times. The same diagram also explains the meaning of the following text of the Quran, which provides guidance about application of Islamic law and jurisprudence, which says, and I quote the original Arabic text, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم فإن تنازعتم في شيء فردوه إلى الله والرسول إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر ذلك خير وأحسن تأويلا. Allah called upon the believers, O believers, obey Allah and obey the messenger and those in authority among you. Should you disagree on anything, then refer that thing to Allah and His messenger. If you truly believe in Allah and the last day, this is the best and the fairest resolution. Quran, Surah number 4, Ayah 59. The text is a guiding framework of delegation of authorities in God's wisdom, in God's knowledge, such as God is the central source of all authorities, and his messengers' authority as the immediate next authority. Those people given the authority amongst the humanity represent varieties of authorities that we have to consider also as servants of God. The indications of such authorities are their advantages and knowledge, experience, and capabilities, and people's trust in terms of religion, political, economic, law, health, and in different disciplines, etc. There are many kinds of human activities where varieties of authorities can be identified. This aspect is the point where the role of democracy is perceived and to be considered in appreciating and achieving the essence of Sharia, which is originally beautiful at all perspectives. The Quran provides definition of Sharia in the following text from Surah Al-An'am, when Allah declared, "This, the Sharia, is my straight path. Follow it and do not follow other ways, lest they lead you away from the way of Allah. This is what Allah commands you so that you may become righteous." Finally, Sharia, which is also translated into rule or law, because when we talk of law or rule, it is also representing a path to be followed. According to Muslim jurists, Sharia refers to the totality of order, regulations, or organization given by the Supreme Creator that regulate not only the relationship between mankind and God, between man and another human being, but also with regards to physical universe around us. In other words, the Sharia is a complete system. It covers everything about this universe, about this life. This definition is taken from the book Introduction to Islamic Junctions, a compilation by Professor Talib Abdul Hamid, okay, former Dean of the College of King Faisal Center for Islamic and Asian Studies, Mindanao State University, Marawi City, Philippines. Now, to sum it up, let us consider this verse from the Quran when Allah said, "Allah created everything and Allah had subjected everything, every creation, to order and due proportion." This is in Surah Al-Furqan, ayah number 2 of the Quran. So, I think this episode 2 of our program will have to end up to this point. Inshallah, we'll continue our discussion to understand more about Islamic law and its structure in coming episodes 3 and further. Alhamdulillah, jaza'allahu khair li wa lakum. May Allah bless and increase us in knowledge. Amin. Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shukran.